¿Qué pasa, campeones? Welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. It's Monday, the 3rd of April. We are back once again with another edition for all of our listeners, not just the Patreon. But let me tell you something. If you're not a Patreon yet, God damn, are you missing out on some fun? I had a lot of fun on Friday, Kiyan. You missed out, buddy. But it was a good one where I got to speak to our Patreons. It was fun because I went over our exit surveys. Needless to say, my friend, there was not a lot of football to talk about, so I did that. Needless to say, this was something that I wanted to bring up. There's a reoccurring pattern. Whenever people seem to unsubscribe from Churros Patreon and leave a reason as to why, guess what or who the reason is?
Me.
Yes, indeed. It is you. God damn it. You are the reason why we have people running away from this pod, Kiyan. They just... Something about you, man. Something about you. It's like all these far-fetched conspiracy theories and,
Yep.
this
That's me.
incoherent ramblings, and they're not digging it. They're not digging it. So here it is. I broke the news to you. I figured I'd share it with you. I'm sorry. See this as an intervention of some sort.
Take it.
Because no, it was fun, man. I was cracking up. It was really funny. But I guess
the reviews were amazing. The reviews were
they were.
I to the point where I actually had to ask you a genuine question. Should I just leave? Should I just stop joining you on the podcast? I think it's better when it's just you. We don't get these kinds of reviews from me or me and you, but you solo is a different beast.
Well, if there's one thing that has become brutally and utterly clear from our exit surveys, is that me doing this alone would leave us with very little patrons, my friend. So
no, I disagree.
The answer to that is no.
I think what's clear about this, when you couple the exit surveys with the reviews in the last podcast, what it means is that you're polarizing, which is a good thing. It means you're either hated or loved, which is where you need to be. Because if you're just someone who's drawing neutral or apathetic reactions, that means you're not interesting enough. So I think it's a good thing. What we could do maybe this is my pitch to you, completely putting you on the spot. Maybe you should just add in a solo show, a third show every week.
I could do that. Not that I have a whole bunch of... Well, you know what? We could start doing that once the season winds down and when I will have more time, because something tells me I will have more time soon. Take that as a spoiler. More news for you, Kiyan, once we're not recording. But I do have some things I need to share. So, I would be down with that. And quite honestly, I do enjoy it. I started this whole thing with obviously D-Spot, which was me rambling by myself. So it is something that I enjoy, and it was really very humbling and just great to see the feedback from the community and seeing that it resonated, that they enjoyed it, that it was entertaining and lighthearted. I mean, it was a lighthearted show. Like I said, it was almost going to be, from my memory, the first Churros where football was not discussed, but like in the final 10-15 minutes or so, I did touch upon a few topics just in case. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna land if I don't talk about football at all. So I kind of shoehorned it in there. But yeah, I was very glad to see. Like I said, it was humbling. It was gratifying to see you guys' comments. So thank you for everybody that enjoyed the Patreon edition. And it was kind of like, those sessions are sort of mixed with music, and different topics and issues are discussed and brought forward. On this occasion, it was the exit surveys, which were a big cause for amusement, at least on my part. And was happy to see that again, it was well received. But you were missed. You were missed. One of the comments. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
No, one of the comments said, I forget who it was. Maybe I should bring it up. But one of our patrons commented just how good of a friend you've been throughout all these years. I think. And he was right to point that out. But he was like, man, Kiyan's been such a good dude. You know, just been having your back whenever you've been feeling down. He's been there, a shoulder to lean your head on, and your therapy sessions. And he's never, you know, like meter el bisturi, we say here. He's never like kind of poked, you know, poured salt on the wound, I guess is how you would say it in English. And he's been a dude. And I was like, yeah, man, he's been a fucking homie. Like, yes, you do. It's
well,
been 6 years, Mark.
I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but for me, like, because I didn't really grow up in like, it's like Madridistas and culés like separate. All of my best friends growing up were culés and still continue to be. Like, I went to dinner this weekend with 3 of my good friends. 2 of them massive culés. And they're just like, I'm constantly surrounded by culés constantly. And so like, I just like, I never saw like, I didn't care. You know what I mean? Like it just provides for good banter, which I think fuels the friendship, because if you don't have banter in your friendship, then are you really friends? And so like, to me, like, I just never really cared for that reason. Does that make sense?
It does 100%, but it's also you're in your nature. It's how you are. You're a good dude, and you've been a good friend. There's no doubt about that.
Got you.
I appreciate it. And like I said, 6 years in running, as crazy as it sounds. And I wanted to double check, so I scrolled all the way down to the first exit survey, and the first one with a comment was in 2018, but we had a few already in 2017. So there it is. It's official. 6 years in running.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And yeah.
Yep. And here's to 6 more years. So
you're here.
We got a big game coming up on Wednesday.
Yes, we do.
And I feel the same way as I did for the last like 2 preview pods, especially the last one. What more is there to say? How many times can you preview the same game?
So maybe you want to go over it, but you sent me a text message yesterday with the Managing Madrid's El Clasico starting 11. I assume this was your starting 11.
Yeah,
right.
I tweeted
that you put out. You want me to read it out?
Please.
So El Clasico starting 11, according to Kiyan, is Courtois in the 3 sticks. Controversial already from the start. No. Carvajal, Militao, Alaba, Nacho in the back. Camavinga, Kroos, Modric. Fede, Vini, and Benz. Subs, 80th minute. Rodrygo and Ceballos. 10 minutes of attacking football. A "we deserve to win" speech from Carlo in the post. And you go on to saying, don't take this tweet seriously. I'm just being grumpy, but I get a sense, because you sent that to me, that you are feeling pretty serious about this. You are a little bit downtrodden, and you're fearing that this will be another repeat of the other Clásicos that we've seen so far.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I just everything, like, being very, very careful, because we were playing against Valladolid. Shout out to Pacheta, who was sacked today. That's pretty harsh, if you ask me.
Yikes.
Right in the relegation battle. Maybe they're hoping that a new manager can come and give them some life, but they were also had some injuries yesterday. Like, what do you expect? But with that being said, as bad as Real Valladolid were, it did confirm to many of us who have been crying out for ages, Rodrygo needs to start. It's a totally different team with him on the field. It's not dependent on Vinicius. It creates space for Benzema and Vinicius. It provides you with a third attacking threat from the wing or centrally. And putting him on in like the 75th, 80th minute when you're losing is not enough. You need more. You need to increase your chances of scoring and winning. And you can't leave it to 10, 15-minute stretch. Now, there is maybe optimism that because of the way Real Madrid played yesterday, that Ancelotti will change. He said something yesterday
And because
that,
you guys need to score, and because you guys are down 1-0.
yeah,
It's
but
more
I
of a
don't know if Carlos
urgency.
sees it that urgent. And I'll tell you why. He said something interesting in the post-game press conference last night where he said, that Wednesday game could go 120 minutes. So, because he was talking about should Rodrygo start or not? I think he was kind of implying that you might need to save the subs if in case it goes into extra time. I don't know. Like, to be quite honest with you, as much as you need to win it, obviously, and you're down 1-0. 1-0 is not like 3-0. You could play conservative and hope for a goal to equalize before 90 minutes. I'm not saying that that's how you should approach it. I'm just saying that there is an argument that it'll be approached that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The fact, though, of you sending this to me, which you've been doing this lately, at least for these last few Clásicos, is it, why do you share it with me? Is it to kind of allow me to feel more comfortable? Is it because you're so frustrated and you need to vent that's kind of a way to your old man screaming at the clouds kind of thing? You have a massive platform, your Twitter account. You have Managing Madrid as well, from where you obviously sent that tweet. Are you trying to kind of maybe talk it out of existence by sharing it with, maybe you send it to your other culé friends as well? Is that kind of what your mission is?
Yeah, I am trying to talk it out of existence and jinx it. But also covering my bases to say kind of, I told you so. If we lose, it's because of this. I don't have a whole lot to lose sending these. You know what I mean? So, but I'm also curious to get the flip perspective of this. Because I've been saying for quite some time, I've said it for the first Clasico, which was the first leg, the second Clasico, which was the League One, and now this one, I'm saying the same thing like an idiot. We have to use this opportunity to give a psychological blow to Barcelona and use it to fuel the rest of the season. I was way too naive in the first two games thinking that was an option. But tell me, can you list off the players who are not playing for Barcelona on Wednesday? Keeping in mind that, to be honest, Real Madrid have their own problems. Mendy is out again. We have no left back in the squad. But the Barcelona injuries, like, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, it would be inexcusable to lose against Barcelona, given their state. Inexcusable. I really believe that. I wouldn't forgive it.
Why? Have these players have, I mean, okay, Elche is a tough one to go by because obviously there we started with Ansu and Ferran Torres, which arguably, well, one of the two. Ferran has been getting some minutes, but with Rafinha not playing,
more importantly,
it was clear
Elche.
that he was gonna. And it's Elche, of course, yeah. You had Eddie Garcia for Busquets, the first time in his professional career at Barca, at least in that position. So it was quite an experimental lineup. And given Elche, given that they're as good as relegated, I mean they're well clear of saving themselves. They're bottom of the league standings. This was the game where Xavi was able to implement these kind of changes, quite drastic changes, radical changes, if you will. But assuming and take into account that the likes of Busquets will be fit, you have Robert Lewandowski, Busquets, either Ansu or Ferran Torres up front. Pedri is not officially out, but he is, meaning it's not official, but all signs are showing that he will not make it. So you could very easily see a midfield that consists of the likes of Gavi. We'll have to see with Frenkie de Jong. I don't think he'll make it. I don't know. We have no official statements yet. All that will become clear tomorrow, whether he will be available. But imagine it will be Gavi, Sergi Roberto, and
Busquets.
Kessie. So Busquets, of course, right. So maybe, I mean, Gavi, Kessie, Busquets, or Gavi, Sergi, Busquets. I think he would choose Roberto over Kessie. Would
Also,
be my
Sergio
inclination.
Roberto, for some reason, just plays at a different level in the Clasico than he does in every other game. He goes against Real Madrid. He plays his best football. So, okay, when I said that, I was assuming that Pedri and Frenkie and I think Christensen and Dembele, those are the four that are out. I just assumed Frenkie was not making it back. Maybe that's not true, but
to my account, or to my knowledge, I should say, it's not official yet.
Okay.
But I see where Madridistas are coming from, as in, you look at a midfield that is missing those key players that you just mentioned, and you're like, man, we have to smash them. I mean, we have to smash them. This is our chance to deliver that psychological blow. And quite honestly, Kiyan, I think something big will happen. I feel everybody I have spoken to are sort of I wouldn't say indifferent, but they're not expecting a high quality, from a football perspective, from a football point of view, a high quality match. I don't dispute that. I do think it's going to be entertaining, and I think it's going to leave jaws left wide open. Which way will the coin fall? That's what I'm not certain of. I do think it's going to land some sort of, moral boost or psychological blow, depending for which team you're rooting. And why, I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing. It's the third Clasico in a month. People are kind of, they're already seeing the end of the season. We're in this final stretch. I mean, it's a cup match. It's the semifinal of the Copa del Rey. It's important. But with the players out, and I don't know, I just don't feel that there's much hype. I don't feel there's much excitement. I don't really feel like people are really ilusionado, as they say in Spanish, really, say joyfully looking forward to this match. Whatever the reason may be, this is just my hunch. But I feel like something is going to happen that is going to leave us stunned. And whether it'll be like an emphatic win by a big goal margin for Los Blancos, or a late dramatic winner, or Barça, get through in similar circumstances, that remains to be seen. But I can see why Madridistas would feel that this has to be the chance to deliver a massive psychological blow to Barça and lift the spirits for Real Madrid heading into the quarterfinals, is it, of the Champions League against, I mean, let's be honest, you guys are already in the semis of the Champions League. You don't need a massive psychological. Come on. If there's any team right now that is downtrodden and morally defeated, it's fucking the team that has changed managers 2 times in one season and have bought all the players that are.
Which may actually work in their favor against us. The new manager bounce, they get some psychological momentum for whatever reason.
Does that work for the second time in one season?
I don't know, but I don't like it
when you heard that news. You must have liked it.
No, when you heard that news, different to it. I mean,
really?
I put it this way: I just don't think it's a great thing that Real Madrid are favorites heading into ties for whatever reason. Maybe some complacency kicks in, but no, I'm not taking that for granted at all. But I guess, like you mentioned that it's possible if Real Madrid wins by several goals. That's just not something that Real Madrid does in a Clasico. When was the
Not
last time?
yet. There has to be a moment.
Supercopa?
Like a
2017?
3-1.
3-1. But it's
Well,
I
that
can't
one,
remember the
that
last time it was a 3-goal margin. Do you?
I think that's the one yeah. I mean, the Super Copa is the one that
Well,
always
that was
springs to
over two
mind.
legs. It was the
Over
5-1.
2 legs, yeah.
5-1? Was it?
Right.
Yeah,
Five.
over two legs, but
Yeah.
not in one game. Look, I don't need to act too spoiled and ask too much. A win is fine. Just win. If you don't want to win by 4 or 5 goals, I'm okay with it as long as you win.
But you have to fancy your chances. You got
but
to
I
be
fancied
like
our chances in the
Madridista should
first 2
be.
games too.
Hmm.
And I was naive in that. And part of my skepticism is one thing that I feel like Ancelotti needs to improve in. Like, for example, when we faced Chelsea last year in those 2 legs, one of the things I really like about Tuchel is that he really studies what's happening on the field and makes adjustments right away. And I really respect Tuchel. I think he's a footballing genius. And he made some really great tweaks at halftime at Stamford Bridge. And then he also made really good tactical adjustments based on what he saw in the first leg. And based on that, those adjustments, Chelsea went up 3-0 against us. And I don't think Ancelotti does that. I think Ancelotti is like, this is my lineup, copy and paste. We rested Modric and Fede against Valladolid. They'll probably start. And I'm totally okay with those 2 starting, don't get me wrong. I want Fede to start in midfield and not right wing because it takes away the Rodrygo spot. And I just don't know what that's where I'm skeptical. I will say it's great that we got a good confidence booster, like Benzema hat-trick, something he really needed. That was great. All 3 goals were great too. Rodrygo played well. It was a good confidence boosting weekend for us, but it all goes to waste for me if we don't use that to beat Barca, because who cares that we won 6-0 in the league otherwise when the league is done. So, yeah. The skepticism comes in how Ancelotti will line up.
I get it. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. I don't know why. I haven't this, like I said, a hunch or an inclination, like something that tells me that that this game is going to be remembered. And for what reason, I don't know. But I feel like it's just kind of flying by our radar. You know, we're 2 days away. Nobody's really been talking about this Clasico in the build-up of it. You know, Xavi, all the questions would normally be centered around the Clasico. Wasn't really the case. And that's probably a good thing. I'm not saying that, but it just kind of like, you know, you kind of start getting goosebumps or butterflies in the tummy days in advance, or at least I do, but I'm not getting that. And in this quiet before the storm makes me feel unsettled a little bit and not trusting the situation. I don't know. And with all the players that we're missing, I'm flipping kind of negative on this one. I think we might see Madrid advance to the final and I don't know if you could call it an upset, but cause an upset, or, you know, cause many culés to be upset come Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would be an upset, but people will be upset.
No.
Do you think when you saw Benzema's hat trick, did that worry you at all? Like, oh, well, this guy hasn't played well all season, and then he all of a sudden did that, or did you not care because it was Valladolid?
It's like saying, well, Lewandowski's back to scoring ways after getting a brace against Elche. It's like, okay, great.
Right.
Good.
But
that's
I
good.
think it's like, to me, it's less about like who you were playing and who we were playing, and more about, regardless of if you were playing, you know, 1970s Brazil, or if you were playing Elche and Valladolid, that's just confidence for the next game.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, of course. I would have preferred Benzi to continue in a slump leading into this match, but the fact is that he found the best version of himself and capitalized on his chances. Chances that he also had in the Clasico and the one in the league, I want to say. I mean, he had the first chance after like 20 seconds, right? That hit the side net. Maybe that game would have turned out completely different had it gone a few more centimeters to the right and actually gone past Ter Stegen. And after, that momentum would have maybe shifted already early on in the first half. Who knows? I don't, it's obviously good for Madrid. It's a massive win, 6-0. It's good for Benzema, who didn't play during the international break, to head into this Clasico feeling like I still got it, and he got his rest. And he's another factor to take into account after sort of not being a non-factor in the last two Clásicos, in particular in the one in the league. I would say we didn't see anything from Benzema, and little from Vinicius. Vinicius in that game was the one I would say that was trying the hardest for Madrid. But
I don't
couldn't
think
get the
it
job
got
done.
talked
So
about enough. Maybe it rightfully didn't get talked about enough because Real Madrid lost, but that was probably the best we've seen of Vinicius
he played
versus Araujo.
Yeah. Yes. That's fair to say.
Yeah. Did we record a post-game Clasico podcast last time?
No, you avoided it for days, and then
okay, we can't. we for whatever reason after every Clasico,
seriously
do this. We can't make that mistake again this week, no matter what. I don't care if I'm on an airplane or dying in a hospital. We have to record that. I wanted to ask
the
you.
funny thing is, I will be away. It's Semana Santa. I will record, but I will be away.
Well, I don't care if it's Semana Santa or Semana
or the goddamn aliens
Navidad,
finally revealed themselves.
Whatever, I don't care. Just we gotta record.
Okay.
Did you consider this season successful for Barcelona? Right now,
if we only win the league right now, yes, highly successful for sure.
What would your this is completely hypothetical, but would your assessment of this season being a success change if Real Madrid won Copa and Champions League?
No, I mean, no, because I would be assessing Xavi and his achievements and how the team has looked under him and how we've performed in quote unquote big games. So, I would have to take into account, of course, this second leg at the Spotify Camp Nou. If we go out playing the exact same way that we did in the Bernabeu, that would have an effect. That would certainly alter, let's say, how I would judge and evaluate Xavi, the coach, in these kind of situations. Now it is also true, of course, that yes, we are heading into this game with so many key players missing that you could argue, well, it's just simply not fair to expect and unrealistic to expect Xavi to play tiki-taka or to, compete against Madrid for possession when he just doesn't, literally this time doesn't have the players to do so. If Frenkie, Pedri, etc. are out of action, and I do think that has to be taken into account. So, Madrid winning the Copa and the Champions League would be a downer.
Yeah,
as it always is whenever Madrid wins the Champions League. My feelings or judgments of Xavi would have to, take into account, of course, the way he decides to come out and play now on Wednesday. But overall, with the cup, leaving the cup aside, I think what he has achieved in the league, he's not, if anything, at the moment, he's not getting enough credit for it. So,
Well, I mean, that's correct. I suppose maybe I should have reworded the question in that whatever happens, I think Xavi's been a success because you're measuring what he's doing. And then there's the injuries. I suppose you're disappointed that you didn't do as good in the cup than you did in the league. I guess the question is more like, and again, this is a stupid discussion anyway, but it's one of those things that I think it would be interesting if it happened theoretically, like who would have had the better season, Barcelona or Real Madrid? Who's the best team in Spain, Barcelona or Real Madrid? And what would the cover of Sport be the next day if Real Madrid won the Copa and Champions League? But we're so far away from that. I was just kind of interested in the hypothetical conversation of that.
It would probably be something along the. I'll tell you exactly what the cover would be. It would be Messi es cuestión de horas. It would be like Messi is going to happen in a matter of hours. It would be something along those lines.
Yeah.
Did
you
divert the attention? Look the other way.
Did you see that he was booed again by PSG fans? I don't really want Messi back at Barca, although maybe it's good for the league. I don't enjoy playing against Messi, but if it means PSG are unhappy because they don't get to retain Messi, then go for it. I don't understand anything.
And why are they booing him? Because he's the fault of what exactly? I mean, his numbers, like, again, I don't watch QSG games, but his numbers seem Messi numbers.
I think we talked about this before, but I think their perception was that he saved everything for the World Cup and not for them, and probably also
fair.
Well, and probably also because there's been rumors of him leaving and going back to Barca. I don't know. Either way, I think they're out of their minds. But
well, dude, I tell you what. Friday, when I heard Rafael Yuste, the vice president, openly say, and then Xavi afterwards in the press conference say, "Yeah, we're talking with Messi all the time. Like we're definitely trying to convince him to come back." I was like, "Holy shit!" This is now just out in the open. It's on blast. What I don't know, and I saw this quote, I don't know if it was an April Fool's joke or not, but a quote from Khalifi saying, "You know what? We're fine with Messi going back to Barca. In fact, we wish," I'm going to misquote this, but it was something along the lines of, "Yeah, we're fine with him leaving back to Barca because we're disappointed in him, and it goes to show we should have gotten Ronaldo instead because he would have won us a Champions League." As I'm saying this has to have been an April Fool's joke.
I haven't seen
but it was posted on the 2nd of April. Like, I double checked the date, and it was April 2nd. So, on one hand, I could see somebody like Khalifi make a statement like this. On the other hand, it would be insane for him to do so with a player that is still under his contract.
Yeah, nothing is insane for that guy, but I haven't seen that quote. But this is a hot take maybe, but I don't think it's a crazy idea to it's not a terrible thing for them to lose Messi from a sporting perspective, because that team just has too many stars up front who don't defend. So, it's probably better to surround Mbappe with just 10 really hardworking players who contribute on both ends of the field than it is to have Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe.
Of course
together.
it is. Of course it's better. Of course it's better, bro. 100%. And seeing as they cannot offload Neymar anywhere, it would make perfect sense for Messi to be the one that leaves that club, because he would bring them nothing. Look, Messi doesn't defend. I would be very interested to hear Xavi, who has openly admitted that he has conversations with Messi, and now the newspapers, of course, are reporting that Xavi is already planning next season with Messi in the squad. I would love to know the conversations between the Messi and the Xavi, because Xavi, if there's one thing that he exige, that he demands from all his players, is the work rate, the intensity, that effort, defensive effort, something that Messi doesn't do.
Yeah.
So
not now anyway. When he was younger, he was a pressing machine.
No. Sure, we're talking now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another conversation that becomes really interesting. Where do you play him? You know, Xavi has fast wingers on both sides who can run and help their fullbacks. So Messi would have to play a different role probably, and someone else really talented will have to sit. So it'll be interesting if we get there. I think that's an interesting conversation to have. You want to talk about all this noise, the Barca statement today about Tebas, and I don't know if you saw Ceferin had some quotes too. Do you want to go there, or is that for Patron
Sure.
edition? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
No more. No longer.
Barca statement
Nothing
today.
is off
Can you
limits.
explain it?
Right. So to give the listeners some context, La Vanguardia, a highly esteemed, reputable newspaper from the area of Barcelona, put out a article where they prove that Javier Tebas actually had submitted a false evidence, basically, to a public prosecutor to incriminate Barca. This was actually discovered by an intern at Mundo Deportivo. What had happened was that Tebas, who presented this false evidence to the public prosecutor, confused names. It was as simple as that. It was
knew what he was.
It was
doing,
overlooked. And thereby, tried to wrongly and incorrectly and falsely incriminate Barca, which obviously, caused anger, dismay, indignation amongst the club, Football Club Barcelona, and they released a statement where Joan Laporta demands Javier Tebas to come out publicly immediately to apologize and to resign from his position as president of La Liga Santander. Obviously, that's not going to happen. It would be interesting to see Javier Tebas explaining himself.
He did.
In further depth than the tweet, right?
Oh, okay.
Well,
he basically said it's incorrect, right? He basically said it was fake news. That the Mundo
I didn't see.
Wrong.
I'm gonna full disclosure. I actually didn't see his tweet.
Okay. He said. If I can just pull it up here, maybe I'll even share my screen. But he basically said, it's fake news.
So that this entire article is fake news, is it?
Yeah.
He just denies the allegation.
I mean,
hashtag fake news. He went Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
Fake news. It's fake news. Fake news, people.
He doesn't strike me as a figure who would come out and admit that he was wrong and apologize. So
no, I did. Yeah, right. No, I just maybe he would like slamming it down as fake news. Yeah, I'm more curious to that. Is he just calling it fake news straight up, going full Donald Trump mode, or is he trying to say wala and trying to justify his actions? Because I think it's pretty clear that he presented this to the public prosecutor, and I don't think there's any tampering with the evidence or with the report that was put forward by La Vanguardia. I think that would be pretty hard to just qualify or label as fake news.
He's been tweeting some other stuff since. I just want to say that I don't think there's so much wrong with the system. And I think it's really, really disappointing and sad and devastating for all of us who just love football and La Liga that it's run by just a complete big baby. And there's no like solution in sight. Because the big baby needs
well,
to
the thing is, Kiyan, what I sorry to jump in here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just completely cut you off.
Just
finish your thought. No, what I want to know, I mean, what I would like to others to at least acknowledge is that as of today, at this point in time, March, or what are we, April 3rd, how long has this been going on? It feels like an eternity. I don't know if it's been a month since this allegation was put forward that Barca was paying Negrera X amount of money to get favorable call, basically paying off referees. As we stand today, Barca is not guilty of paying referees. There's no proof that Barca has paid off referees. There's no proof of that.
Well, clarify what you're saying. There's proof of money being sent to Negrera.
Correct.
Yeah, but you're saying it's not proven that they've benefited
and the
from the
Fiscalia. So right, because even the Spanish judicial systems have right now, and Hacienda and everybody that's basically had a look at this. I do understand that investigations are still going on. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if this is public knowledge, but Joan Laporta is believed to be holding a press conference regarding this affair, April 10th or 11th.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, even the Spanish legal systems or the authorities have said, well, payments were made to Negrera for refereeing reports, and here are those reports. There's no evidence that referees were paid to make calls in favor for Barca and amañar, right? Like and fix La Liga results in favor for Barca.
I just want to clarify that me calling Tebas a big baby has little to do with even what happened today. Like, I think it's like just, and who knows what's going to ultimately happen with the Negrera case. I don't know. But I just find it really, really bizarre that, like, I don't think I've seen this in any other sport, any other league, where the president just constantly comes up publicly to fight with another team. It's really weird.
He even asked our president to resign. He actually said that Laporta should resign. I mean, who the fuck, who is he to demand something like that? President of a league demanding another president should resign, you know.
Yeah, and
it's insane. You would never see that in the Premier League.
Some of this has to do with maybe Barca backing out of the CVC deal.
Of course.
It's just frustrating that there's no solution in sight, because the president sucks. The federation sucks too. Rubiales sucks. UEFA sucks. PSG sucks. Everybody sucks. It's really annoying that there's like, we can't figure this out. It needs to be torn down completely. I don't know if you saw Ceferin's quote today.
The big reset. The big reset has to happen. Yeah, I saw some quotes. Yes.
So Ceferin said that, quote, "The Negrera case is extremely serious. It's one of the most serious I have ever seen. For La Liga, the matter is time barred and has no competitive consequences. Proceedings are ongoing with the Spanish Civil Prosecutor's Office, but for UEFA, nothing is time barred." I don't know what that essentially means for Barcelona's fate in Europe, but this is another quote that he said. Quote, "It is interesting to point out that the three clubs that are going to save football in the Super League, one is in criminal proceedings, another is being investigated for paying leaders for the refereeing organization, and we will see if the third one also has something." Which, to me, this is what that means. They don't care about anything.
We're going to find something.
Well, they don't care about finding anything wrong with Manchester City or PSG, because these guys were not involved in the Super League by the end of it. But I think that what they're trying to do is, okay, let's go and find something about these three. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing an investigation thoroughly on Real Madrid somehow, somewhere, to try to find something. If they'll find something or not, I have no idea. But they're pretty successful with Juve and Barca, or at least finding something, or at least creating something. And just come out and say it. Like, you basically said it, but just come out and say it, that you hate these three teams for the obvious reason, and you're going to ignore everything else, including your own corruption. There's a lot of hypocrisy in this whole thing. I'm not excusing anything that anyone is doing wrong. I'm just saying that, like, the whole system sucks. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game of chess right now. When I said that this story, the entire affair between all these organizations and institutions reads or is unfolding like a mafia drama thriller, it's the truth. I mean, I know I often bring this docuseries up, but you just have to watch that docuseries, The War for Football, the creation of the Super League, on Apple TV. I know some of our patrons have watched it, and they will and have agreed or have shared their feedback saying it's a must watch. It's an eye opener. And you have two bandas. There's well, I say two sides, not so much two sides. There's many sides, and each one are fighting their own wars, whether it's with each other, against each other. It's fascinating. I mean, it's an ongoing battle, an ongoing war, but it's there's so much money at stake as well. At the end, that's what it comes down to, Kiyan. It's just it's money.
Yeah.
And self-interests.
Yeah. Diego, I gotta go in 5 minutes. Anything you want to prioritize in the last 5 minutes?
Just for our listeners to become a Patreon. It's a lot of fun, the Friday pods, and the more the merrier. We hang out, we take your questions, address your comments, and just try to make it a little different, a little bit more creative, entertaining. And so if you're not a patron yet, don't know what you're doing, you got to sign up.
100%. And the Clasico post-game podcast will be
paid. Yeah, exactly.
Patron only.
This reminds me, another exit survey was, I just came to listen to Kiyan roll his R's after the Clasico and hear Diego's passionate like rebuttal or whatever the fuck it was. So,
well, one of them I remember seeing before, and it was like not enough R's or something. That was one of the exit surveys. I think it was probably someone who was disappointed with me after a Clasico win or something, that I wasn't ruthless enough. On the last patron podcast that you did, it's 27 comments. I can't remember the last time. Again, none of the ones were just me and you together get that kind of engagement. It's pretty incredible.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. That's where you get access to it. And again, it's the safe space where Diego and I can talk about anything. Mostly Diego can talk about anything. I don't necessarily hold back. I'm just kind of a tame person to begin with. So it's not like you hear me going to another level of conspiracies and calling and
don't
saying
believe
things
it
on the Patreon
Kiyan
podcast.
Goes wild. It's X-rated. Can you imagine X-rated Kiyan? You get that on a Friday. It's crazy. He takes off his beanie and everything. It's nuts.
You might. I'm under promising so people don't get their expectations too high. But it's fun. Definitely get in on the action. Patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Diego, this was fun.
Always.
Let's see you on the Salty Post Game podcast. Yeah. All right, man.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care. Peace.
You too, buddy. Peace.